Anyway, apparently we're here to talk about Satanism.
Well, we can talk about Satanism, if you so desire.
I don't know, I think that was the whole genesis of this thing. Haha, genesis. I don't know.
Yes, I guess it was. That's technically true.
Then I also, as I said, might get Shane Bugby on, might not. Depends.
The elusive Shane Bugby.
Yeah, more or less. Actually, no. Most of the time he's available whenever I need to do something with him. Which will also say, buy both books, the bomb-ass recipes, recipes from Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn's basement, and then the Founding of the Satanic Temple book. I watched the video.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just curious how all of that isn't what Satanism already is or has in it.
It may be, it may not be.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it,
mean,
it really just seems like it's what it already is.
yeah, and that's kind of, I mean, it's definitely like I'm definitely inspired by extant Satanism when I call myself a Satanist, for sure.
Though, I'm just curious about, because you were talking about emotional reaction with people. How,
Emotional reaction.
yeah, on the Discord with,
All right, yeah, with when it comes
yeah.
to sort of spreading the good word of Satan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I just think that one of the things various people over the years have realized is that a lot of the time people are much more motivated by emotions than by logic. And so it just needs to be something I guess we're aware of that sometimes it's not the best way to appeal to someone just imploring them to use reason.
Yeah. I mean, you can't find it. I mean, you can't fight irrational belief with rational belief when it's already set in irrationality.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a whole framework to it that you got to work within if it is indeed your desire to bring about change, which is not always. Sometimes that's a futile effort to begin with. But we all kind
Or
of want to
honestly,
change the world.
yeah, but
Everybody
nothing's
wants
gonna
to rule the
change
world.
the world.
Nothing's gonna change. Carl 2 says illusion is the whole deal.
And well, yeah, I mean, I think I don't think so. The issue isn't because you were talking about God being the issue. The issue isn't God; it's the belief in God that would be the more specific issue. If anything, then
Tomato, tomato.
potato,
Nobody
pot,
says potato.
po,
Nobody.
potato. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Exactly. Sam knew how to pronounce potato. People say taters. What's taters, precious? But nobody says potato.
Why is who would say, whoever says potato? I think should be just shot.
Somebody needed something to rhyme with tomato, tomato. that's the explanation.
So they just made up something no one actually says,
Exactly.
but acted like they did, and now everyone thinks that it's something someone may actually say.
Yeah, because of that song.
Yeah, no, but like with the video, like I didn't disagree with anything within it because like everything that you said in there is already in like proponents of Satanism, like it's already just part of it.
I do, I mean, I get that Satanism is kind of a parody religion. I know that, like, they kind of don't like it when you refer to it that way, but it is. Come on, let's be real. And so they have, like, the satanic version of the Ten Commandments and stuff, and it's all meant to sort of be a big mockery of Christianity. Um, but you know, like that kind of stuff is kind of like, okay, whatever. I'm not really into all that. Like, we gotta decide on what we believe in, how we should interact with each other. I just think, you know, use common sense, do what you think is right.
Well, there's Satanism. Use common sense and do
Yeah,
what you think be right. And
basically.
they're less. Are you talking about the 9 things in the Satanic Bible?
Yeah, and aren't there other ones? There's
Okay.
like a couple of them. There's like the 11
All right.
satanic
So
precepts or
the one
whatever.
in there, they're less commandments. They're more of a credo, just kind of
Yeah.
overlaying what's in the book in essence.
Okay.
Then there's the 11 rules, which is basically again everything from the Satanic Bible hashed out for a general audience. Then there's the 9 satanic sins, which would be just things that do not aid someone in living life,
Yeah.
which is just like, which is again just rehashing what's already said in all these books that were written and stuff, just for general audience. Like, you know, because you kind of have to put it out there, like, yeah, this is it, just so that public can't say, well, you didn't say no, you can't do this, or yes, you can do that. It's like, no, it just says it right here for general public audience.
It's just that whole idea of codifying a philosophy that works fine for, you know, what he was trying to do with his book and his opinions, but you know, I'm just saying that, like, whatever his deal was, I don't really care. I have my own kind of interest in Satan that's doing its own thing.
I just don't see how it's very different.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily all that different. I mean, maybe there are some differences. It's been a while since I read the book. Like, I don't know. It seemed like he was much more a fan of anger than I am. You know, and he was also
Um,
into like magic ritual and stuff, which I'm not particularly all that interested in.
well, the ritual is more just because humans have a very interesting psychological tendency towards ceremony, and
Yeah.
it's provably mentally beneficial. So Satanism just takes that for what it is as the psychodramatic tool, if that makes sense.
That's pretty much what I got from the reading, but you know,
Yeah.
I think people who are into that are going to gravitate more to that sort of that side of Satanism than I do.
Yeah, I mean, ritual isn't necessary. I don't do rituals. I don't find anything of interest to do rituals, you know? It's just not interesting to me.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, there are people that find it incredibly beneficial, and then, you know, there is also something to say if you do something for a certain thing, and, you know, you get the psychological benefit, but then also something happen. I wouldn't confuse correlation with causation. However, I also knock could be correlation and just keep testing it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Anger just never feels good to me. It doesn't feel empowering to me. It feels just disempowering to me. So, not a big fan of it. There's a lot of human emotions I'm not a big fan of. I'm not maybe as life affirming as LeVay in that way.
Well, I think it might. It's more allowing those emotions to come and then just get them out. Like, if people were screaming into pillows and sticking pins into dolls instead of taking anger out on each other, things might be a lot easier to get done. You know, if they
I don't
just
know.
ritualized that anger, if they just ritualized it all, in
Per-
some sense.
Perhaps, but I kind of feel like the presence of that anger in the first place, it's hard to get rid of just through enacting some sort of a ritual. You know, it's 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 symptomatic of a bigger issue, of a deeper issue. And until those issues are addressed, I personally in my life have a really hard time getting anything done.
You
Carl too says
just
anger makes me feel impotent and helpless. I'm kind of in the same boat there.
I'm gonna go with Johnny Rotten and say anger is an energy.
Anger is what?
Anger is an energy.
Uh,
I mean, I think it's good for motivation.
yeah. Yeah, I don't
I
ever
mean,
really get motivated by anger, personally.
well, in a
A
sense, you
lot
get
of people
motivated
do.
to get unangry.
A lot of people really get motivated by anger, and I think that's why you get all these political extremists and all of these, like, revolutionary violent groups and terrorists. Like, a lot of people are really angry, and they get motivated by it. Like, it makes them want to go out and do stuff. For me, I have the opposite effect. Like, if I'm angry about something, that's the last time I want to go out and do stuff. I want to just retreat, you know, because I don't feel good being angry. I feel like weak. I feel like I'm being put upon by some emotional stimulus that I can't control.
No, I'm really just questioning if we can even have counterculture at this point in the age.
Well, it gets, I think, with every passing generation, it's natural that counterculture becomes more irrelevant.
No, I'm not sure if it's great that it becomes irrelevant because, just one thing overall isn't the greatest thing to have.
Well, I don't see that we have one thing. I think the reason it's getting irrelevant is that we have too many things. When there is a dominant culture, then you can have a counterculture. But when there's no dominant culture because there's too many cultures, then nothing is a counterculture anymore. There's no meaning to the idea anymore. That's how I see
That
it.
that there is a dominant culture. There is one. It's consumerism.
Well, a lot of things are folded into consumerism. It's more of a principle than a culture, really.
Bit of both. It's a principle that defines a culture.
Carl, too, says counterculture requires a monoculture to contrast with. Monoculture is dead. I don't know if it's dead necessarily, but I think it's dying.
I mean, what happens when counterculture dies, though? Where's the counterbalance to it all? You know?
Um, well, I think that the, the need for a counterbalance will be obsolete because there won't be a balance in the first place. It won't be weighted on one side in the first place. If my theory of the death of or decay of monoculture is what's causing the decay of counterculture.
And what exactly is causing the decay?
I think just generations passing, all of whom had their own form of counterculture, and that sort of becomes normalized over time. And you get more people splitting off into these different niches, and those niches get normalized over time, because those generations who are into that counterculture get older and have their own kids, and so it just kind of splits, it fractalizes, it turns into a big sort of fractal, and each split becomes smaller in a fractal, of course. More invisible. Carl II calls it social atomization.
So counterculture is, in essence, in the future, hopefully unnecessary in a sense.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. It's more, it's sort of the thing that it was needed to address ceases to be what it used to be, and so the need that created it kind of dies out, and so the motivation for creating it kind of dies out. And it all kind of becomes one thing. It all kind of sort of culture and counterculture, who's to say? It's like the Sneetches, the star-bellied Sneetches and the plain-bellied Sneetches at the end. Who is to say who has a star belly and who is a plain belly? It's anyone's guess. It becomes, the whole difference between them becomes kind of irrelevant.
Do you think there is a counterculture that is going on today, or do you think there's none currently?
That's a good question. Is there a counterculture today? I mean, I guess there are very unpopular subcultures, but I don't know if that constitutes a counterculture.
No, I think that would be more queer culture. Queer just being anything that the mainstream doesn't like, not necessarily counterculture, just what the majority doesn't like.
Yeah, I kind of like. There's no that there is a conspiracy of normals still, as per the Church of the Subgenius. There is a conspiracy of normals, but it doesn't rally around one banner like it used to,
Well, it never really rallied around one banner, did it, though? I mean, with counterculture, I mean, like, yeah, stuff like the theater of the absurd, but there was so many things going on with the counterculture. There were the hippies, I mean, I'm just going to use the 60s and stuff, post-World War II theater of the absurd, beatniks, hippies, yippies, Black Panthers, White Panthers, all that.
But yeah, so the counterculture never had one banner, but the main culture, the mainstream culture, the conspiracy of normals, who are trying to subvert the counterculture. That all kind of was, I think, back then more homogenous than it is today. I think these days we still have a conspiracy of normals. We still have people trying to keep everything normal, but what is normal really kind of depends on who you're talking to these days. I think more than it used to.
To a degree, probably. Actually, in a sense, the Amish are probably the most counterculture around, right? If you think about it, I mean, they completely turned their back to everything else for the most part, and
I mean,
just don't use technology if they can, and
But they still participate in the system. They still like hawk their shit on TV commercials, like buy these special Amish made furniture, like they're still playing into consumerism in their own way. They're just not using modern technology.
Yeah, that's true. Dang, so I guess maybe Ted Kaczynski, he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't do it for profit, so yeah, I don't think there is any counterculture. Well, I think maybe just with I think there is an overall thing of normalcy, but everyone has kinks now, and it's okay to have your own kinks now. not just limited to me using kink in it. Anyway,
Yeah.
but overall, I think there is a thing of normalcy. I mean, what's the most relevant things in most people's lives? I mean, I listen to people talk and I hear people talk about more or less the same.
Yeah.
Uh,
National politics, Ellen DeGeneres, video games.
so it's consumer. I mean, I guess it is consumerism. I can't see it as being anything but consumerism. That's the culture.
We all seem to have a habit of buying things and throwing them out when they're of no use to us anymore.
Yeah, people need to learn from the uh, 30s, 40s, 50s generations because those people knew how to keep stuff.
Yeah. They, well, that was something in Brave New World where it was like, it was considered wrong to repair stuff because, like, buying new things helps push productivity in the economy. And so you were supposed to throw away everything and buy it again. And that was part of what the whole virtue, their religion of their culture was based on. It was like a religion based on automation and Henry Ford and the production line, you know. Scrumly Wumley says Ted K is the goat of all time. Gotta love the phrase goat of all time. It's like ATM machine.
I mean, I think Ted Kaczynski's pretty cool, but he's a good example, but I think there's better living examples, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, Varg Vikernes, maybe even still. I mean,
That guy, really?
sure he's on Twitter, but I don't really see how it can be argued that he isn't, in a way.
The goat of all time?
No, he's in like the terms of people
Yeah.
that would be counterculture today.
Yeah.
Like, I think he would still be considered it because just take a look through his Twitter and that's all that I can really say.
So, I'm assuming he went to prison after killing that one guy. When did he get out?
He got out in 2009, I think. He
Okay.
escaped once too, and they still let him out.
Well, that's Scandinavia for you, you know.
Yeah.
And they have lower recidivism than they have in the United States and the highest levels of reported happiness in the world.
Scandinavia would be great to move to.
It would.
Or, well, Norway.
Norway, Sweden, Denmark, all of them are in the running for being the happiest countries.
Very much better in terms of that.
I mean, it's like one of the best ways to show the success of their system is just look at the World Happiness Index. If you can judge happiness objectively at all, look at that, see who's highest on the list. America ranks pretty high among all the countries. I mean, we're a pretty good country, all things considered, but we're not in the top. Carl 2 says,
Close.
I prefer Iceland myself. Carl 2 has actually been to Iceland. I speak a little bit of Icelandic, and I have never been to Icelandic, nor spoken directly to an Icelandic person. But it would be a nice thing to go. A nice place to go.
I don't know how you're gonna do the Hollywood. Fundamentally loathsome.
Oh, you know, I think the key with all those is to take it chronologically. That way you get all the context you need. Oh, Wow. Okay. Yeah. To take it chronologically, that way you get all the context you need, and I I don't imagine it'll be that hard if I can just sit with it for a bit, you know.
I tried doing something on it a while ago, and it just 12 pages in, and I'm kind of just like, it's 12 pages on just a and single little part of it.
Well, yeah. That's that
I
shows you're
mean,
doing
I
it
don't know
right.
what I don't know what I expected, in all honesty, but then also I don't know how that launchpad guy does it.
Yeah, I've never seen those. I don't want to watch those until I've done the triptych, and then I can see how he did it.
They're different. They're very different.
I might check it out after I'm done with the next episode, just to see. I could maybe even react to them on stream.
Well, what order do you take the triptych to tell the story in?
Well, it depends on what you're trying to get out of it. So Manson told it in two different orders. When he was making the albums, he sort of pitched it as Mechanical Animals is a sequel to Antichrist Superstar, and it was. But then afterwards, after he was done with Hollywood, he had this idea, well, maybe you can actually see it told better in reverse. And so I think both readings will yield something of meaning, because I don't think Manson would have come up with both meanings if they didn't both have a purpose.
Do you think you could interpret it from a way that starts with Mechanical Animals and goes to Hollywood, then Antichrist Superstar, or from Mechanical Animals, Antichrist Superstar, then Hollywood? Or some
I've never
out of
heard of
order?
I've never heard of Manson actually talking about that, and so I probably wouldn't even think about that, because it seems like that would be like not where the evidence is leading me when it comes to interpretation.
Yeah, though I wouldn't personally knock the possibility that it's possible.
Well, it's possible to see how the themes in all of them relate in different patterns, I guess. I can
I
definitely
mean,
see right now how Mechanical Animals is a sequel to Antichrist Superstar, and I think it's really interesting when viewed that way.
explain your perspective on that.
Well, it's like one of the possible endings of the revolution. Like, one way for it to end is just the revolution sells out and goes corporate, and the Antichrist Superstar becomes just this plastic doll to be sold on toy shelves for $5.99. You know, it's like the most depressingly realistic outcome, and for that reason, I find it really funny that he chose to go in that direction, especially as there were so many people who were starting to say the word sellout when his name appeared. Like, ooh, Marilyn Manson, has he sold out? Sellout? The fucking 90s were weird, man. But that was something people really cared about back then, even more than they do today. And I just find it funny that he was like, all right, we'll make an album about Antichrist Superstar goes Hollywood, you know?
Yeah, it's just selling out in the most dramatic fashion ever.
Yeah. Carl too says maybe the only true counterculture left are the people of Sentinel Island, North Sentinel Island. Yeah.
You know what? I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
Kinda.
I can't argue against that. Do you think there's a counterculture there to their counterculture?
Maybe.
I mean, yeah, I don't know anyone as I mean, I'm sure there's probably uncontacted tribes somewhere as well, though. I don't know. Any sort of uncontacted group, I would say, is probably the most counterculture there is.
Yeah.
'Cause I think
In
as soon as you touch it with modern technology, it just any chance of counterculture goes out the window.
Well, yeah, we all kind of become the same over time.